Greetings viewers, once again Chuke here with Chuke's Outdoor Adventures. Wanted to talk about the good old 45 ACP. It's American as apple pie. I've talked about my preference for 40 Smith & Wesson. That's no secret, but I have been carrying 9mm more than anything because of capacity and modern bullet design. So just because I like other rounds does not mean I dislike the 45 ACP. I actually have a great love for the 45 ACP, and I think it's a great round, and I'm going to talk about its use in Alaska as a bear stopper, and we're going to talk about knockdown power, stopping power. So the 45 is actually very popular in Alaska for outdoorsmen. You'd be surprised. When I talked to Juan at EDC Alaska, he sells more 9mm and 45 ACP guns than anything else. Those are his two top sellers. Obviously 10mm and 44 Magnum, 454, all that kind of thing, those revolvers and the 10mm Glocks, those are popular with outdoorsmen. But generally, just selling guns, 45 and 9mm, seems to be the popular pistol round in Alaska right now that's being sold in large numbers. Now, in 2012, I talked about how that summer 2 brown bears, or grizzly bears, I guess they were more of the interior, were killed with a 45 ACP. And people don't realize that, but the 45 ACP is more than capable of killing a grizzly bear, brown bear. I don't know about stopping a charging one, but one case was in the Matsu Valley. This guy got sick of this brown bear, or grizzly bear, I guess, getting into his garbage, and he shot it off his balcony. It was about 6 shots with a 45 ACP. They never tell the type of pistol in the news article. It makes me mad because I'm interested to know what it was, but it was about 6 or 7 shots, and the bear just walked over and died, just walked off in the woods and died. 45 ACP, the news article said that. I tend to think that it was probably a 1911 because it was about 7 shots that were taken. Within weeks of that same incident on the Denali Highway, grizzly bear, was coming towards a guy, a hiker, kept kind of ambling towards him. So the guy pulled out his 45 ACP. I believe it was a Glock because he unloaded a magazine on it. It was more than 7 rounds. And the bear just kind of walked off into the brush, fell over on its side and died. Fish and Game troopers showed up and identified the bear and found out what the story was. But within a few weeks of each other, those are just 2 small examples. This happens a lot. You'll see people out in the woods with 45s on their chest. It's very common up here, and people may scoff at it, but I believe that just because a bullet is going slow doesn't mean that it's not going to do damage. I think the 40 Smith & Wesson is sometimes a better choice. You're going to get better penetration on a big animal with a 40, but you got to think a 230 grain bullet, the 45, it's a big hole. You're making a big hole. So I do believe that it's capable. I have a new 45. This is the HK 45T, the 45 Tactical. It is clear, and I've been having a lot of fun with this. Really excited about it. It's got the 5.2-inch barrel. I'm even going to shoot 45 Super. I'm going to save that for another video, but I really like it, and on some hikes I may take a 45. Now there's the whole myth of stopping power, and some of it is a myth. Knockdown power is kind of a myth. You're not going to knock somebody back, blow them back on the movies, shoot them with the 45, they go and flying back 10 feet in the air. That's not realistic. That's not going to happen. However, stopping power with something bigger, there is something to that. And people argue that it's all about shot placement. That's true. Get somebody right in between the eyes, an animal, get its central nervous system. That's very true. You're going to stop a threat. However, stopping power, there is something to that. When 100 years ago, when people switched over from the 45, John Moses Browning invented the 45 ACP because they wanted something a little bit bigger. It started off with the conflict with the Moros. .38 special just wasn't doing it. So they came up with the .45. There's also the urban legends of the trenches of World War I and II, where they switched to .45 to knock people back down into the trenches. There's a little bit of truth to those stories. You got to think about it. If you're getting hit, even if it's going slower, if something's making a bigger hole, it could conceivably do more damage with that bigger size projectile. It's wider, it's a bigger nugget going into you. It's going to do more damage. I'll never forget the story. A first sergeant told me he was in Iraq or something. He saw this threat pull a AK out of a truck, pointing at some guy he knew. So he just started shooting him with his AR, right? His M4 or whatever, 5.56. He said it was just like in a Hollywood movie. The guy was looking at him and just being knocked around by, 5 or 6 shots going through his body. Of those little 5.56 rounds were just knocking his body, shuddering from the impact, just like on a movie. And after that, the guy looked at him, put the truck in reverse, backed it up, and then drove off. Obviously, he died a couple minutes later. He bled out. It was a confirmed kill. My point is, if that first sergeant had a 45-70 or a 450 SOCOM, 458 SOCOM, 450 Bushmaster, and he took those same shots, I don't think the guy would have looked at him and backed up the truck and drove off. He just would have slumped over right there. When you've got a bigger bullet doing more damage like that, it's going to make a difference. And I think there's a case for the .45 ACP. People have killed brown bears with it up here in Alaska. It's not suggested. I'd rather have a .44 Magnum, but if you've got a .45 with decent capacity, that's better than a sharpened stick. So let me know what you guys think. Despite all the arguments about 9mm and shot placement and how this doesn't have the greatest capacity, it's 10+1. I have ordered a mag extension for it. I still think that the .45 is great. It makes you feel confident when you've got that big old round that you're carrying. So hoorah for the .45 ACP. May the .45 ACP live long, and let the arguments begin. Thanks, guys. It's Chuke, your friend in the field.
Outdoor adventure.